Hello, Paul Santori here, and we're going to do a little demo today of what you could expect by taking a figure drawing class with me. We're planning on doing one this summer as part of River Arts, so I'm just going to show you the basics of what to do when you show up for your figure drawing class. Some of you may have never been to a figure drawing class, so I'm going to show you some really basic stuff. The first thing you need is paper, obviously. So you're going to buy this stuff. It's called newsprint. You can get it. It's a big pad, 50 sheets of paper, available at Finishing Touch on High Street if you want to go local. And the only other thing you need to get started is a piece of charcoal. There's all kinds of different kind of charcoal. One that I particularly like is this stuff. It's made by a thing called Alpha Color. It's called charcoal for some reason, K-O-L-E. I don't know why. They say they're pastels. To me, it's just a piece of charcoal. It's nice and big and chunky. You can make a lot of different kind of marks with it. Also available at Finishing Touch. There's all kinds of charcoal you get. I don't have time to go into it. You'll figure it out. Or I'll tell you more when you come to my class. So anyway, we have our model here today, Miss Inez, and she's going to go around to the modeling area now. And what we do in figure drawing is that at the beginning of the session we do what's called gesture drawings, which are fast poses. By fast I mean 2 minutes. Some people do them for even less time, but we'll do 2 minutes usually. And so we're going to show you some different kind of poses that the model might do and how to basically approach your gesture drawing. Okay, so this is our first pose. Very nice pose, very classical. So what you want to do is when you're first starting, you're not looking, you're not starting with to get the ear or something like that. What you're doing is to look at the basic thrust of the figure, and you're almost looking inside the figure to see the basic lines that are there, somewhat relating to the skeletal structure. Sometimes what you can do. So I've done the first few marks here. What I've done is I've indicated the angle of the backbone, the angle of the pelvis, the legs going down, just the very basic bits. Okay, now we're going to go back into it, and it's almost like we're putting the musculature and the fullness of the form onto those basic lines to form the figure. Pay attention to the feet. The feet are what plants it on the ground. You want to get those in there. Now also, one thing you may notice as you're drawing, you may just do a very few marks and realize that you have a beautiful drawing. And just, half of art is knowing when to stop. Okay, so we're putting in the basic lines, putting the head to a greater or lesser extent. Sometimes you may just do a part of the body. Sometimes I put in a little bit of suggestion of face, but not getting too detailed. So see here, we put on a little bit more weight, and you have the basic idea of the figure standing there in space. Okay. So now we're going to move on to another pose. This is just to give you an idea of a range of the different kind of poses you might see. Some are more basic than others. This is a typical kind of pose that you might see a model do on the floor. Sometimes they fully recline, do a full reclining pose. See, so once again, all I've done to begin with is start to get the basic idea. We've got her backbone curving over. We've got the one leg sticking straight out. We've got the angle of the other leg. I'm going to go in, start to flesh it out a little bit. Another thing that could be a determining factor for you into your finished product is the clock, because at two minutes the little dinghy goes off and they change the pose. And then you just move on to the next one. Don't worry about it. Don't finick about it. If you want to, you can take the drawing home and work on it more if you feel like you need to. I don't usually do that. For me, figure drawing is like for instance, I do landscape painting too. I personally just like to work at the site of when I'm thing. I don't like to come home and finish up. Other people do. Hey, you know what? You're going to develop. You know, everybody develops their own way. That's just me. I just find there's a certain energy I get when being in the place and actually working in front of whatever I'm drawing. Okay, and now we're going to do another pose. And remember, don't judge your drawing while you're in the class. Your feelings about what you're doing are also always going to be affected by your mood. You may feel like, wow, today was a complete train wreck. I didn't do a good thing. When you get home, you'll look at your drawings and you realize that actually you did some good things. Okay, so now we have it's another pose you're going to see. We keep props around, so if the model wants to do a seated pose like this, she can. He or she can. There'll be men and women. Each presents its own challenges. And in fact, each model is an individual, so you're going to have a different experience. That's the cool thing about figure drawing. You never know what to expect. So here, like I said, same thing. We put in the skeleton a bit. Make sure to keep the feet in there. The feet are a nice element in this pose, particularly. Here's her pelvis. She's leaning back. Capture the angle of that. Her shoulders are forming a slightly different line, opposing, coming out at angles. See, notice how I'm using the tool too. The tool, you can use the edge of it. You can use the point of it. All of these things, that's one of the things, the great things about figure drawing is you learn so much about all different kinds of things, how to work with your tools, which tools you prefer. You may get to some point and think, wait a minute, that's completely wrong, I don't like that, which is the case right now. So you can come in, you can work, and you know what? Using your eraser. This is a nice eraser. I can give you more details about tools in the longer class, but you can use the eraser to make your own kind of marks. Now also now you might not always want to just do something floating in space. So maybe you want to put in the chair she's sitting on. You can sketch in the chair. You can put her in an environment. She's got a table sitting there next to her. It's a nice shape. You might want to throw that in there. It's good to have. You'll see that each room has its own set of props in there that's just built into the architecture of the room. They got the sheet that she's sitting on. There's a painting sitting next to her. You could throw some of that in there. Maybe indicate that a little bit, just real quick. Depending on, sometimes I try to put the face in there to a greater or lesser extent. Do a bit of a portrait. It's a little hard to do a portrait when you're working fast, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you can focus in on that and just do a very fast portrait. It has a nice immediacy and a nice effect in and of itself. And usually once I start working with an eraser or something like that, or making a different kind of mark, I generally go over the drawing with that to make it consistent throughout. Go ahead and throw a bit of that other edge of that other canvas in there behind her. Okay. So like I said, that's great. Thank you, Inez. Always remember to thank the model. They work hard. It may not seem like they're working hard, but they're always thinking, and they're always trying to, our models are really good that we use, and they always try to provide a great experience for our artists, and they're working really hard with their own imagination, their own creativity to create their poses for you. And just as an example, I wanted to show you the idea that, really working on things and working for a long time to make a drawing. Sometimes you can come up with a beautiful drawing that gives the idea of the figure with just a few marks. And here's a drawing like this that's on the wall behind us here. And I'll just focus in on that a little bit. And so as you can see, it's just a few lines. This is another thing, and it teaches, being in the figure drawing class kind of teaches you to have some presence of mind while you're working, because as I said, and I truly believe that, you know, half the battle a lot of times in making a piece of art is to know when to stop. So it really gives you a feeling of being yourself. And also it's great to get out of your studio. If you have a studio at home, it's great to get out, be with other people. It's a group activity. So I hope you can come out for the class this summer when we have it. And you'll be hearing about that in the River Arts newsletter. And that's it for today. So hey, thanks a lot for coming by.